Hey everybody, this is Darren Van Dam, and you are watching Flick Connection, the show that helps you get more out of movies. And today I want to tell you about some of the most badass Christmas movies of all time.
Welcome to the party, pal!
So, like usual on this channel, this list is going to include 10 movies, but they're not going to be movies available on any one streaming service. In fact, some of these are going to be movies you may have to rent or purchase, but these are the most badass Christmas movies ever made. And if they are currently available on a streaming service at the time of me posting this video, I'll be sure to indicate that next to the title up here. And if you're watching this in the future, they may be available on different streaming services than the one shown or not shown in this video. Now, as we start off this list at the back with number 10, I am not typically a fan of Ben Affleck action movies. They tend to not be very good for me, but Reindeer Games, while it is a mediocre action movie, in terms of like a badass Christmas movie, it definitely makes the list. This one is super badass, and not only is Ben Affleck pretty good in this one, Gary Sinise sort of steals the show. This is his sort of post-Lieutenant Dan performance. He's real grizzled in this one, but it works really well. He's a really good bad guy in this movie. A very young Charlize Theron with red hair is the babe in this one, and she's more than just eye candy in this movie. She plays a pretty pivotal role, and because she is such a good actress, she sort of elevates things and does a really good job as well. So while this one is kind of silly, it's silly in a good way. It's an enjoyable action movie, kind of one of those throwaway types, the type that you enjoy while you're watching it, but you don't really think about it too much afterwards and maybe don't even really care to watch it again. That's why it just squeaks in on this list at number 10, but it still is a totally badass Christmas movie that is well worth checking out. Alright, we're going to jump things up a bit in terms of quality and just how good these movies are, because my next pick has become a cult classic over the years, and that is The Long Kiss Goodnight. So this one takes place during Christmas. There's a lot of action scenes that deal with like Christmas decorations, and it all works really well. In this one, Geena Davis is a woman who suffers from amnesia and then suddenly starts to realize that she's got some skills that she didn't know that she had, and then you get taken on this wild, epic action adventure. This one too has some silly stuff, but the silly things that occur in this one, while they're not totally plausible, they're just a blast to watch. This also stars Samuel L. Jackson fairly early in his career before he was a big household name, and he is a total pimp in this one, and I mean that quite literally. He even dresses like a pimp. It's a pretty slick outfits for Sammy in this one. I love him in this one. Geena Davis is great. There's a decent bad guy. Again, just shootouts and stuff. The only thing really to sort of keep in mind with The Long Kiss Goodnight is that it is older. It's from the 90s. It's almost 20 years old. And it's a little bit slow paced in the middle. Most movies today that would have this much action packed into them, and especially this type of action, would be a little more nonstop. They wouldn't really slow down the way this one does. It's just kind of a thing of the times. It'll feel a little bit dated because of that. That said, total blast. There's a reason it's a cult classic. If you've never watched it, this one's loaded with Christmas stuff too, so it's an excellent watch for the season. Now, The Nightmare Before Christmas is not on this list. While I do like that movie, it's a fantastic Christmas movie, it doesn't really fit in with the nature of this list. However, my next pick is one of Tim Burton's most underrated movies, and that is Batman Returns. Now, this one obviously was somewhat of a commercial success, but what you may not know is that this movie, well, McDonald's rather, actually ruined Batman movies because of this one. This movie has some very graphic elements to it. I'm shocked that this is rated PG, that they expected families to go see this. Danny DeVito is not only horrifying, he's also really rapey in this one. Not just in a 2020 everything's rapey vibe. I mean, he is a total creep in this one. There's some violence and blood, and it's just really pretty disturbing. I love it. And it all takes place during Christmas, and I've watched it recently in the month of December, and it's a fantastic Christmas watch. If it's been a while since you've seen it, you probably forgot how cool all this stuff is. I mean, Michelle Pfeiffer turning into Catwoman is an incredible scene. Christopher Walken is the other bad guy in this one. There's a lot to love. It gets a little bit muddled, a little bit messy, which is why I think people don't still love this movie as much today. But watching it, it's one of the better things that Tim Burton has ever put out. But there is a better Tim Burton movie further up near the #1 spot on this list. Now, there's a very good chance you forgot my number 7 pick revolves around Christmas. And believe it or not, that is Rocky IV. And while I do think some of the earlier Rocky movies are better movies, Rocky IV is kind of special onto its own. It's got its own vibe. It really hit sort of that 80s stride with this one, not just with the music, but just the look and feel of Rocky IV. It is a little different from the others, and I dig it. I like that it stands out as this different sort of 80s thing. And on top of that, the big fight that takes place in this movie is on Christmas Day. So while this one isn't drenched in Christmas the way some of the other ones I just talked about are, it's a fantastic Christmas watch that you probably didn't even realize was a decent Christmas watch.
Good. Oh. I want you to picture a bullet inside your head. Can you do that for me?
Fuck you. Anyway, that's ambiguous.
Ambiguous? No, I don't think so.
No, I think he means that when you say picture it inside your head, okay, is that a bullet will be inside your head or picture it in your head, like form an image?
Shut up.
And then we will round out my bottom 5 on this list with one of the more lesser known movies on this list, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. This one has an all-star cast with Robert Downey Jr., Val Kilmer, Michelle Monaghan, and this was written and directed by a guy who wrote the screenplay for my number 2 pick on this list. And it is absolutely fantastic. This is right before Robert Downey Jr. became Iron Man, before his career really blew up. He was sort of making a comeback. This was one of his earlier roles in that comeback. He's incredibly witty in this one. This is one of my favorite performances of his, even above anything he did in the Marvel Universe. Michelle Monaghan is not only really sort of charismatic and fun to watch, she's super sexy in this movie. Val Kilmer's got a great role, and there's a lot of fantastic banter in this crime movie that's an investigation, sort of a detective style movie. I love everything about this movie, and this one is totally just drenched in Christmas, only because it takes place during the season of Christmas, but it's coded in it. They go to some lavish Christmas parties, making it a fantastic pick. In fact, I'm kind of wondering why I don't have it ranked higher, but looking at the list, I think it's just because the top 5 on this list are so strong. On that note, if you're finding that you're having trouble locating some of these movies, or maybe they're not available on the streaming services that you already pay for, consider using CyberGhost VPN. They are today's sponsor, and they have been sponsoring the channel for about a year now because you guys keep signing up and keep using them. So I'm going to continue to feature them because I think it is a fantastic service. Follow the link in the description, and for a limited time, my followers can save 83%. That's less than $2.50 a month, way less than the cost of a movie rental, to access way more movies by disguising what country you're in. That way you can unlock Netflix in France, Hulu in Germany, Netflix in the UK. You can access movies that are only available in those countries at any given time, meaning you can access a lot of the movies on this list without having to pay extra aside from the VPN account. And in addition to just letting you access more movies, it makes your web browsing more secure, it makes it private. Not only does it make it harder for you to be hacked, but government surveillance is no longer a problem. It's a smart idea to have a VPN anyway, and if you're a big movie fan like me, why not use one that allows you to access more movies? In addition to that super low rate, they have a 45-day money-back guarantee, so there's virtually no risk. Great 24/7 customer support. You can use it on up to 7 different devices simultaneously, and it's all the different types of devices that you use. So check out the link in the description below. Save up to 83% off for a limited time for my viewers when you go to the Darren Van Dam page in the link below. But let's go ahead and jump into my top 5 on this list, which starts off with one of 2 horror movies I feature on this list, and it's the only foreign film on this list. It is called Rare Exports. This is a Scandinavian movie. While there's a little bit of English peppered in, it mostly is subtitled. There are dubbed versions available, but this one is about a mining crew that basically discovers Santa Claus, and it is a frightening depiction of Santa Claus, and there's something else at play here. There's actually a lot going on in this movie. It's got a slick look to it, a cool vibe that's fairly serious and scary, but never takes itself quite too seriously, allowing this sort of silly concept to work. It's not too goofy, it's not too serious. They nailed the tone with this one. If you like the concept, even though I'm only telling you a little bit, if you like the way I'm describing it, there's a very good chance you're gonna love this movie. Keep in mind, it is dark, so don't let it, ruin your mood on a night when you're wanting some Christmas cheer, but the concept's fun enough that it makes for a total badass Christmas watch. And then we're gonna follow that one up with the second horror movie featured on this list, and it's quite possibly the most famous Christmas horror movie of all time, and that movie is obviously Gremlins. Now, this movie, if you don't know, is responsible, or partly responsible, for why we have PG-13 movies. This came out at a time when there were only 3 ratings, G, PG, and R, meaning PG was sort of in between totally clean and totally not, and parents were horrified when they took their kids to see this movie. This one, and I believe Indiana Jones, are sort of responsible for creating the PG-13 rating. But enough of that geeky stuff. This is a fantastic Christmas movie, number one, and number two, it's a fantastic display of practical effects and puppets in a way that works and doesn't look like Jim Henson puppets. And it does look good. They look real. They look tactile. You can tell they're not quite moving right, but it still makes for an incredibly menacing monster. This one too, just drenched in the Christmas season. It's almost a must watch in this house at Christmas time. If it is for you as well, be sure to hunt it down and check it out. It's rarely available on streaming services at Christmas because I believe they can make more money. They know people are going to pay to rent it. It will likely be available on some streaming services after the Christmas season, but it's well worth spending a few bucks, especially in a year like 2020 when not many movies have come out. All right, and then we're going to revisit Tim Burton with my number 3 pick, which is one of his best movies. I don't think there's any argument that Edward Scissorhands is one of Tim Burton's best. This takes place during Christmas, or at least partially. The snow, the whole spirit of it has got this Christmas vibe, but obviously it's also very dark. I don't think any of you need me to go on about what this movie is about, but odds are you haven't really looked at this as a Christmas movie, at least not most of you, and there's enough there that it's a fantastic watch during Christmas, just like Gremlins, even though I think it does have less of a Christmas theme than Gremlins. But just like Gremlins, not much has come out this year. It's going to be hard to beat Edward Scissorhands. If it's been a long time since you've seen it, this movie, I kind of want to call it Tim Burton's masterpiece. Even though he's done some fantastic movies, it's hard for him to beat this one. This one sort of hits on all those Tim Burton cylinders, and I wish he would do more movies like this instead of these sort of bright, colorful remakes he's been doing.
So do I. I never expected to have so much in common.
This is his wheelhouse. This is him at his best, and I absolutely love it. This is one of those movies, every time I watch it, which is not that often, I've realized that I've forgotten how good the movie actually is. Now, the second greatest Christmas action movie of all time, without a doubt, is Lethal Weapon. Now, Lethal Weapon is actually written, not directed, but written by Shane Black, who wrote and directed Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Another honorable mention would be The Nice Guys. He wrote and directed that as well. It almost made the list, but Christmas sort of pops up at the end of that movie, so it doesn't really fit. But if you like the other two, The Nice Guys is a fantastic watch. Other way around, if you like The Nice Guys, you should definitely check out Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. But Lethal Weapon, obvious classic, takes place all throughout Christmas, but most importantly, sort of the finale, the big action sequence towards the end, which is very long. There's a lot of things that happen in that sequence. There's a chase, there's a great scene of Mel Gibson running down the street barefoot with that machine gun. There's the hand-to-hand fight in the front yard with the water from the fire hydrant and the Christmas lights in the background with Gary Busey and Mel Gibson. So many fantastic elements. Mel Gibson busting the coke deal at the Christmas tree farm. It just is fantastic that it takes place in Christmas. It's a movie you can watch any time of year, but if you watch it at Christmas, I think you'll notice how much Christmas is present in this movie, and obviously Shane Black likes that element. He likes sort of juxtaposing all this violence and action with Christmas, because he did it in Lethal Weapon, he did it in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, he did it a little bit in The Nice Guys, And then I believe he also did that awful movie, The Predator, which I think also maybe took place during Christmas. But Lethal Weapon, easily the best. But what is the most badass Christmas movie of all time? It's Die Hard. There's no build-up. You knew it was gonna be Die Hard.
Come out to the coast, we get together, have a few laughs.
The fact that there's even a debate as to whether or not this is a Christmas movie baffles me. It's very obviously a Christmas movie, just like some of the others on this list. It's drenched in Christmas. I don't know what else you need to be a Christmas movie. Does it need to have sort of a spirit of the season and people giving gifts and sort of kissing under the mistletoe? No, not when you have Hans Gruber getting dropped out of the Nakatomi building, Bruce Willis bleeding from his feet, and the dad from Family Matters choking down Twinkies. It's Christmas all the way. It has become Christmas. Not only that, it's one of the greatest action movies of all time, and it holds up, especially if you get the right aspect ratio, one that's not cropped off on the sides. You get a good HD version that's the right aspect ratio, that's nice and wide, and those explosions and the blood really pop off the screen. It is watched in this house every single Christmas. In fact, it is not Christmas until I see Alan Rickman fall to his death. But let's take a quick moment to thank the Patreon supporters for supporting yet another video. These guys are so fantastic. They are the reason you get tons of movie recommendations, so be sure to thank them. If you're interested in becoming a Patreon supporter, there's a link in the description. There's also a link where you can become a channel member and get access to exclusive videos if you want, but I will keep making videos like this one as long as you keep watching them. Thanks for watching this special Christmas episode, and you will see me on the next one.